What is up, my friends? I hope that you are all in good form this evening. Appreciate you dropping in for a little chat with me. As always, we're going to be talking about all things Liverpool related. We're going to be looking at the transfer market. We're going to be talking about referees again, I'm afraid, but only because we've got some statistics and anything else that you guys would like to chat about. Of course, it's your show. So how are we all doing? You know, I like to spend the first few minutes just catching up with everyone, making sure you're all well. Appreciate you coming in with me early tonight. We're going to take the evening off, basically give the lads some time to chill out. So that's why we're on at 6. Go West Ham. Yeah, big game tonight, of course. Arsenal, West Ham. And look, I'll be honest, I see Arsenal winning the game. I'm not expecting many points drop there, to be honest with you. Interesting result from Old Trafford. I think it's fair to say as well this week to see United come back to beat Villa 3-2. That certainly will put a dent in Aston Villa's title credentials. But for us, look, it's getting to that time where we're looking at the market, right? January's going to be upon us soon. We've got a game of January 1st against Newcastle, so we've a little breather in there. Jurgen Klopp has given the boys Wednesday and Thursday off, which was their reward, by the way. He told them if they beat Burnley, they could have Wednesday, Thursday off. So the lads have had a bit of a breather as well, and they're going to be back reporting to training at Kirby on Friday. So, let him take a penalty or something, OMG. I don't know what that's about, but there we go. Surely we'll be active in the market in January. Lance, I think we will. In fact, I'm very confident we will. It just remains to be seen how active and who exactly those targets are going to be. So look, I know that you're all probably wondering about the Joe Gomez stuff, and don't worry, of course I'll fill you in on all the latest there, and I don't believe Joe's going anywhere. Let me put that out there first and foremost, and I'm certainly not advocating for us to be actively looking to sell Joe Gomez either. No way. His versatility has come in so handy for us this season. You know, he's filled in the 3 positions, and that speaks for itself about how important he is to this squad. So we'll talk about Joe, of course. We'll ask what Spurs are smoking, because, you know, that's the done thing, isn't it, when we're talking about players that they're not going to be getting. FRIMPONG we will discuss as well. I do have some notes on FRIMPONG. ABD, don't worry, mate. We'll be talking about him as well. Ooh, 666 people in the chat. Ooh, it's not a good sign, that. That's not a good sign. Don't bank on it with these owners, said Paul. Well, Paul, as you probably know, mate, I'm not a huge fan of FSG, particularly with their penny pinching ways, but if they want to win a league title, they've got to go for it in the market, surely. Like, Arsenal aren't going to stand still. We know that they're looking at a whole multitude of positions. You know, talk about Ivan Toney. There's a midfielder in conversation there at Arsenal. They're even looking at centre-backs, of course. So they're not going to stand still. So I hope our owners see that and realise that we need to invest as well. Frimpong is a whole package at ABD. He's a good player. I wouldn't say he's the whole package. Still a bit of work to be done on the defensive side of his game, but there's certainly a lot of positive attributes. And we will be talking about Frimpong and where he may or may not be ending up. There's 3 or 4 clubs in the mix for him, according to reports coming out of Spain. As predicted, yet another iffy decision given to City yesterday. Look, Dave, let's talk about referees for a minute then, while we're waiting for the chat to fill up and everyone to come in. Because the lad sent me a stat from, as I've said before, somebody who I rate very highly, Mr. Paul Tompkins, with regards to the decisions that we are or aren't getting from Paul Tierney versus other clubs. So if you look at the amount of penalties that Paul Tierney has given in the Premier League, you'll see Liverpool hovering around there near the 0 mark, versus the amount of penalties given to the Manchester Uniteds, Chelsea's, Manchester Cities of this world. I would always recommend people, if you want to look into statistics around Liverpool, to check out Paul Tompkins and the Tompkins Times, because he's my go-to. He's my goat for all things Liverpool statistics. Of course, Andrew Beasley, another great account to follow and make sure you keep up with his statistics as well. He works alongside Paul Tompkins. It's shocking. And you see that handball yesterday, and then you ask yourself, okay, look, gotta be honest with you, I'm sound about Man City getting a penalty for that. To me, that's a handball. But so was ours against Arsenal. So that's where I'm annoyed by it. I've no problem with City getting that penalty. In fact, I think it was a handball. But I do feel very not at ease with that being given, and then Odegaard going full Harlem Globetrotters, and all of a sudden, nothing to see here. And David Coote says no penalty. Sorry, that doesn't wash. So what do you guys think about it? So you've seen some of the decisions this weekend. You've seen the penalty given to Manchester City. You see the penalty not given to us. And what did I tell you, by the way? Ref Watch today with Dermot Gallagher. What did I tell you was going to be the excuse? So Dermot Gallagher has come out and said today, and I'm going to give it to you straight, that if Liverpool's goal that Gakpo scored wasn't ruled out on the pitch, the goal would have stood. So VAR didn't say to the ref, you got it wrong, which he did. Go have a look at the monitor. They said nothing. So when it benefited us, VAR have nothing to say. Go with the on-field refereeing decision, can't overturn it. But when it goes the other way and Salah's pushed into an offside position, we're shafted. Do you see where I'm going with this? It seems like for Liverpool, clear and obvious only applies when it punishes us, but clear and obvious doesn't apply when it benefits us. That's what I'm taking from these VAR incidents. And on the Mohamed Salah thing, Dermot Gallagher said one of two things is only possible. Either it's a penalty for Salah getting pushed and he doesn't think there was enough for that, or it's a factual offside decision and it's unlucky Liverpool because Salah was pushed. So let me put it this way. If Salah was running through on goal and was pushed in the same way he was pushed, we go penalty, right? But because Salah didn't flop to the ground and roll around after the push and stumbled into the offside position, we get punished. It doesn't sit right with me. It feels like, as I said, clear and obvious only applies when it negatively impacts Liverpool, but never when it positively impacts us. Feels like we're going to have to be not just 12 men, 14 men, because we have to be VAR as well. So I'm pretty annoyed about that situation. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, we're used to this in the Premier League. Craig, did you think about your team of the year? I didn't, Lorcan, not yet. I didn't, mate. I have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we've got to sort out. So I've been really busy when I'm not streaming. Joe Gomez is staying. Again, Jason, I'm not advocating for Joe Gomez to be sold. This is not my story. I didn't just pluck it out of the air and go, Liverpool, let's get rid of Joe Gomez. It's not me that's saying it, nor am I advocating for him to leave, but we will cover it, don't worry. Dean Boucher said handball rule needs to be clarified as a foul no matter what. Well, they do need to do something with it, Dean. I couldn't agree more with you, my friend, on that one. The decisions we're seeing are appalling. So, can I ask you guys your opinion? Do you... now, take out for 1 second, remove what happened with us with Odegaard. Just put that out of your mind for a second. Honestly, do you think the Manchester City penalty was a fair handball? Because I've got to be honest with you, I do. I've no problem with Manchester City getting that penalty. But I do have a problem with us not getting ours. So that's where I'm annoyed. City, to me, that's a handball. Defender puts his arm up like that when he's going to the ground. I think he's making his body bigger. I think that's a handball. I've no problem with that. If it was us and we were shooting and that happened, I'd be screaming for a penalty. So I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with what happened to us with Odegaard. That's the part that stinks to me. I think the City penalty was a common sense penalty, but we don't seem to get that same common sense. And that's what annoys me. Leork plays said, as a United fan, that Odegaard handball was a disgrace. So I see some people in the chat are split on the penalty, on the Manchester City penalty. I'm just being honest with you, I've no issue with that penalty. The issue with me comes with our situation. Because old school wise, if I'm thinking back 2-3 years ago, I think we're all taken for granted that handball from Everton was a penalty. I don't think 2-3 years ago anyone's debating that. We're all pointing that as a nailed on penalty. So where I struggle with is how on earth Odegaard wasn't punished. And look, it's not like, I want Odegaard to be punished, but I want us to get what we're due, which was a blatant penalty. See, again, Reza, I was asking you to try and separate the two incidents for a minute, mate. I get what you're saying about you're unsure about it. But I'm just saying, my instinct when I see a thing like that happened with City is penalty. That's, my brain says that's a penalty, that's a handball. He blocked the shot with his arm. But when I seen Odegaard's, I mean, it's even more of a penalty. It's twice the penalty. What do you think about a swap deal? They're very rare. in football, Kyle, actually. It's not that often you see swap deals. City always get the softest decisions. Oh, they got a penalty for, I think, a foul on Houlden at one point this season, which was the most ludicrous attempt at a foul I've ever seen. It was shocking. And I'm not sitting here trying to say that City are getting things that we aren't. It's not about City in this conversation. It just happens that City were the club last night that got awarded a penalty. And I've no problem with that. I'm just concerned about why we aren't getting the obvious decisions. You know? That's my gripe with all this. Not what City did or didn't get. It's about the lack of giving us a fair shake. It's a disgrace. It's like the rules different for us compared to any other club. And that is my problem with it, mate. That's it. You've summed it up in a nutshell. It's like the rules are different when we play. The thresholds are different when we play. You know, I don't know what else Odegaard would have had to have done for that to have been a blatant penalty. And also, I told you straight away what you were going to hear from PGMOL, Dermot Gallagher and everybody else around refereeing with their ruled out goals. First incident was bad luck on us because, you know, VAR didn't see enough to intervene. So there was no foul. Everybody admits there was no foul from Darwin because that's what everyone's admitting. Dermot Gallagher said there wasn't a foul. Clattenburg, I believe, said there wasn't a foul. Everybody says there's not a foul, but that's not enough to go to the referee and say, mate, you've made a mistake there. There was no foul on the defender. Perfectly good goal for Liverpool. So in that instance, VAR doesn't want to get involved. But when the ref awards a goal for us, suddenly VAR have a vested interest in getting involved and ruling out a goal. So why is it that one overturning of a referee's decision is okay and clear and obvious when it hurts us, but the other one, when it was clear no foul and benefited us, well, they don't want to get involved with that. That's clear and obvious. It's bullshit. Have you seen that Dermot said it was a penalty? Because it was a penalty, Luke. That's the thing, mate. So if everyone's saying it's a penalty, what's the punishment? What's Coote's punishment? That's my question. Because you don't need to look far when Coote and Tierney are involved to shaft us. So, are they going to be demoted? Are they going to be fined? Are they going to be thrown out for a few weeks, suspended? No, of course not. Business as usual for the PGMOL. They want respect, though. Do you know what I mean? They want respect. We all have to respect the referees and their decisions. No, we don't. Not when they're blatantly obvious. Happy being here for a few years now. Big up, Craig. Much love, Reza. Thank you, my friend, and we really appreciate your support. So look, you've all been very patient with me. Let's get stuck into the transfer news. Ranty time is over. Let's get into the fun stuff. So, a few stats for you, and again, I want to credit where it's due for this. So LFC Transfer Room posted this. Reece James stats for Chelsea. 156 games played, 21 assists. Trent Alexander-Arnold's for Liverpool in England, 2021-22, 51 games, 22 assists. So I think we can see very safely to say there that Trent is indeed the better attacking fullback, and we can put that conversation to bed. You're very welcome, Chelsea fans. We like to do these things for you occasionally, much like when you bring up the Mohamed Salah and Hazard links. I feel it's our duty on behalf of world football to point out how ludicrous those opinions are, and you're very welcome. So on Gonçalo Inácio, again, reports coming out of Portugal are saying that it's almost inevitable that he will leave Sporting Lisbon this month. It's just a matter of who to. So obviously the interest is there from Liverpool. There's interest credited to Arsenal. There's interest credited to Man United. I know, I'll give you a minute so you can stop laughing. We good? Cool. And a little bit from Real Madrid as well. So realistically, it looks like it's us and Arsenal in the race for Gonçalo Inácio, and I truly do not know where we're at with this one. I gotta be honest, guys, I don't. I know I'd like him to come in, but I don't know where I'm at. So, how are you feeling about it? Do you think, I think our need is greater than Arsenal's. I think Arsenal, if I'm Arsenal or I'm Arsenal's fans, is centre forward is what I'm looking for. And I'm pretty sure they'll get Ivan Toney from what I'm seeing, reading, hearing. So, will they have the money? Unless they sell somebody to maybe even go for it. So I think We have a chance to get in on Inacio early, I think, and steal a march on Arsenal, who I believe will have other irons in the fire and other targets that they want to get done early. So I feel like if we want this, we've got to go in early days in the window, trigger the clause, come to an agreement with Sporting and get the player. Or else the longer it drags on, the more time it gives Arsenal to maybe move some finances around, shift on a player or something and free up enough cash. So that's where I'm at with it. FSG are cheapskates, they ain't paying that. Well, I don't know, man. I'm all for there's cheapskates, and don't get me wrong, I've been banging this drum for a while about them not freeing up enough cash, but I don't know if they can use the we have no money excuse after putting the Caicedo bid in. That showed all of us that there was money available. And yes, I know we've spent money on Gravenberch and Endo, but there's still half of that chunk still there. So I don't think the financial excuse is going to work. It has to come down to a conversation about, is he the one Klopp wants and is he the right fit? And if the answer to those two are yes, then FSG don't really have a leg to stand on with regards to denying Klopp that strengthening. We need to sign Hincapié. Well, we won't be. Like I've told you, and I can give you some quotes now because it's not me you have to worry about. So Sky Sports in Germany have said that Xavi Alonso will block any January transfer window from Liverpool or anyone for Piero Hincapié. Liverpool are interested in the Bayer Leverkusen defender, and apparently they're currently top of the Bundesliga, as we know, and their sporting director has said they're all staying. We're not letting any player go in the winter. Just like I said to you guys, it made no sense for them to sell anybody now, because they're in a great position in the Bundesliga, they're in a great position in the Europa League. It didn't make sense for me that anybody was going to be let leave from Bayer Leverkusen in the winter. Now, my worry is that we get sold a pup. And what I mean by that is, my worry is we get sold the vision in the media and by the journos and by the club's briefings of Liverpool wanting Piero Hincapié next summer. Only for us to lose Inacio this summer, or this winter, and then next summer do the usual Liverpool act of, well, no, we've changed our mind. We've other targets now. So don't let that happen. We can't just sit by and allow that shit to happen again, because we've seen this pulled many times by FSG. The promise of one thing down the line and that doesn't materialise. Or the briefing of certain things to the media about what Liverpool want down the line, and when that time comes, we're nowhere to be seen. So I think we have to sort it in this window. So that's why I said to you, I don't think Hincapié is going to happen, because we need somebody now. And if we get to next summer, you've also got to factor in Klopp's soft spot for Matip and maybe giving him a new deal at that point. So for me, we need, as fans, we need to be vocal, and we need to make sure that we keep pushing for this defender. We keep posting about it, respectfully. I'm not asking anybody to go in on the club or the owners, but we need to do it now, because there's a title race happening right now, not next summer, right now. We don't know what way the league's going to be next year. We don't know if Manchester City will strengthen again, Arsenal will strengthen again, Chelsea could be back. We could be looking at a completely different playing field. But what we do know is, right now, 28th of December 2023, Liverpool Football Club, as I sit here doing this stream, are on top of the Premier League. Yes, Arsenal have a game in hand and they could very well be top tonight. But at worst, we're 1 point off the top. And that's a fact right now. So we need to go and win the league. And to do that, Klopp needs to be backed. Are we interested in any right backs? Well, I will move on to talk about a right back in a few moments, yes. And I still don't know to the extent of our interest in the right back situation. I've got to be honest with you, because don't forget, we still have Conor Bradley, Calvin Ramsey, who isn't playing at the minute, but he's still a Liverpool player. So we have young options there, and I don't know what the thinking is at the club at this point in time regarding that. Settle down, Craig. We're waiting for a generational talent. Really, we are. Mbappe, Fritz. Mbappe 2029. You and me, bud. Let's get on this train. Mbappe 2029. All the eggs in the basket. Don't you think De Ligt is a possibility? No, I don't. Because I think the wage packet will be too high for Matthijs De Ligt. And I don't think he's value for money for what we'd have to pay for De Ligt. I got to be honest with you, I don't. I'm not saying De Ligt isn't a good player, by the way. Don't get that confused. I'm just saying with the agencies with Rafaela Pimenta and, formerly the Mina Raiola client, I don't see that being a Liverpool transfer. I really don't. And I think if we go back to Bayern Munich to try and take another player, they're going to go, yeah, well, we made a mistake giving you Gravenberch because look what he's doing. He's starting to settle in well. So no, I don't see him being an option, personally. What do you think of Liverpool playing with a 3 at the back? I've been a fan of it, Dania, for a long time. Not really seen much indication from Jurgen that that's the direction he wants to go. But I like the idea of a back 3. I got to be honest with you, especially with the style of football that we play. But to do that, you need more centre backs. So if anything, if we ever thought about that, we'd need to bring in another centre back minimum, and probably another one in the summer. Craig, I think United are going to sign Werner on loan. Honestly, I know people will laugh and joke about it, but I don't think that would be a bad piece of business if United did that. Honestly, I don't. I think he could do a job there. So I'm going to move on to talk about Joe Gomez, right? Because that's the title of tonight's stream. So let me read out this first. The 26-year-old central defender has not been a regular starter for Liverpool, and it remains to be seen whether Tottenham can convince the Premier League rivals to sell the player this month. Gomez is a reliable defender. He's proved versatile enough to operate in full-back positions as well. So on the Joe Gomez stuff, there's interest from Spurs according to the Mail. So the Daily Mail has said Tottenham Hotspur are reportedly interested in Liverpool defender Joe Gomez. Spurs have been linked with a possible move for the red centre-back as the London club face a lot of injury crisis. Romero became the latest player to succumb to the treatment table, blah, blah, blah. There's Van de Ven, Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, the list goes on. So they've listed Joe Gomez, Todibo, Lloyd Kelly, Gregerson of Genoa as options. And £60 million has been the number mentioned. Now, I actually don't think the number's too bad. I don't think £60 million, you probably push for more. But I think if that was a starting off point for a conversation, value-wise, maybe. But we're not selling him. We can't sell him. The key word in all of this with Joe is versatility. Look at what he can do in the squad. Like, I don't view Joe as a regular centre-back starter. Got to be honest about it, I don't. But I do view him as an invaluable member of the squad that can play centre-back, right-back and left-back. And play different types of right-back and left-back as well. Can do the defensive side, can do the attacking side. So I would have absolutely zero interest in Liverpool selling Gomez. None. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Particularly to help out another Premier League team. So for me, I wouldn't even listen to them. I don't care what they offer. He's part of our squad. And an important part of it at this point. But feels weird saying that, but also saying I don't ever really see him as being a regular starter. I've got to be honest about that side of it as well. But he'll get minutes. He'll get opportunities. He'll get games. So I'm happy with Joe. Gomez is our longest serving player. Joe's a Swiss Army knife. He can play in a whole lot of positions in the back lines at downtown Vegas. Couldn't have put it any better, dude. Couldn't have put it any better. He is. Joe's super versatile. So yeah, look, I'm glad we're all on the same page, or most of us on the same page in that. So let's do a poll on it, because I just want to see how clear this is. So let's get a poll up. 1 second. Right, so just a simple one. Joe sale for £60 million, yes or no? Just a simple question. No one overly complicate these polls. So yeah, for us, you'd have to go out there and find replacements, and you're not getting as versatile a replacement as Joe Gomez. So for me, it's a no-no. A very simple no. Imagine this is a back four: Inacio, Verge, Canade, Gomez. I'd still rather we got a different right back, to be honest with you. I don't want Joe being our right back all the time. I still think we need to get a right back, but... And also, I don't know about Inacio on the left of a back four. But I'll tell you what I could say to you, Triple A. Drop the Gomez out of that conversation. Look at that as a back three. Inacio, Verge, Canade. That has possibilities. And then have wing backs ahead of them, which maybe you could even get Trent involved in, give him a bit more space to operate. One more thing for a few people. I was reading some of the comments on the shorts that we put out. And it always astounds me that people say, but a few weeks ago you said this, this and this. So let's take Darwin as an example. Put up the stats with Darwin and Saka, and you're trying to big up your boy. You're trying to big up Darwin, and immediately you get hit with, but 2 weeks ago you said he was shit. Granted. But what about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, where I defended him relentlessly against abuse? It's weird that people only want to pull you down for the one thing that they know that they can drag you out on. Same with Endo. People are like, but you said he was crap a few weeks ago. Yeah, because he wasn't doing as well. Is that a surprise? Like, look at it like this. Klopp wasn't playing him in the big games a few weeks ago for a reason. And now, Klopp feels he can trust him for a reason. What is that reason? The reason is simply that he's gotten better and gotten more used to the system and feels more comfortable. So isn't it common sense that my opinion on him would change along with his performance level increasing? It's weird, like, I don't get it. Am I supposed to have an opinion on somebody and never change it? Like, he's crap forever no matter what he does. That's an agenda. But your opinions on football players are an ever-evolving thing, which could change depending on form or a lot of other things. I don't get what people want. More comments to go through. What are we going to do next? Remind me to come on to FRIMPONG in a minute. I want to read some of your comments. Any chance of getting Bobby back? No. Nor do we need him. You know, Bobby's best days are well and truly behind him. But God, I love Bobby Firmino. God, I love him. Look, mate, if I thought that was a genuine possibility to improve us, I'd be all over it, but I don't. I would love Todibo. How about you? He's certainly a good option, but think of it this way, like I've tried to say before. Radcliffe's just come into United there, right? And Radcliffe's just given a load of money in to become a 25% stakeholder of Manchester United. There's no world that he's going to allow Todibo to leave the other club he owns to come to Anfield while United look on and go, huh? So Adams said to me that he believes Todibo's earmarked to go to United. I think he actually said it on a stream. I think we were live when he said it. So, yeah, I've always thought that one isn't happening because of the Jim Radcliffe connection to United. A British Asian man is suing Liverpool according to The Guardian, said Queen Nadra. I mean, I have no idea on that story, my friend, so I certainly don't feel I can comment on it. And thank you for your super chat, though, but I don't know anything about that story, so it feels unfair of me to make a comment on it. Prediction for tonight's game. 3-1 Arsenal. So, unfortunately, tonight we won't be on top of the league. We're going to have to restructure top of the league a little bit because of other things, other factors in our other channels. So it's probably just going to be me chugging along on top of the league with Ben for a while because we want to focus on Liverpool content for us, and Adam, of course, has the United content that's flying from at the minute, and we want to make sure that he can put his eggs in that basket and bring in as much revenue for him and his family as possible. So it's just going to be me plugging away on top of the league for a while we just get through this initial surge, because got to be honest, Adam's doing great. He's flying on Forever United TV, and we didn't think it would go this well from this quickly. So I'm just going to cover top of the league for the foreseeable on my own, while we hopefully get Adam to make a good bit of money, because the man deserves it, and I want to support him in that journey as well. Right, what else we got? When is McAllister back? Would you keep Endo or start McAllister? It's a difficult situation because we've got Endo leaving as well as Mo now for different tournaments. So in one way, there's positives to be had from this. Another way, of course, there's negatives. So it's, as Jurgen said himself, it's a disappointment to see end up going now because he's just starting to hit his stride at Liverpool, and it feels like we've got him up to speed. He's feeling comfortable, and now he has to go off and play in another tournament, which, look, we knew about, to be fair. And then you've got the Mohamed Salah situation where Mo goes away to play in the AFCON. We're obviously down a striker, but it gives us an option to look at what the future might be like, or what way we may play without Mo. So I'm both intrigued and worried about what's going to happen, to be honest with you, in those two situations. But hopefully McAllister will be back and he'll be an option there. Any news on by Cecic? Nothing, mate. Honestly, absolutely nothing from my end, unfortunately. Would you sign Pavard at right back? Absolutely not. No. So let's move on to talk about Frimpong. So there is an article coming out of El Nacional and I think Depor, so two Spanish outlets. They say that Real Madrid, Chelsea and Liverpool are looking at Frimpong. Ficajes, who are another Spanish outlet, they're reporting that Chelsea would offer 40 million euro for the 23-year-old, but Real Madrid are also in the market for a right back, and that they're looking at him as well. So I've got to be honest with you, lads. If the price is 40 million euro, I don't see why we wouldn't be at the table for Frimpong. I got 40 million euros. If that's a possible price, that seems too cheap. So, but if Real Madrid really go in, I mean, I can see him going to Real Madrid, if I'm being honest with you. But I wouldn't say no, especially if we have plans to move Trent from the right side into midfield. So what do you guys think on Frimpong? Would you like Frimpong at Liverpool? Do you think 40 million euro, if that is indeed the price, is fair value? And one more question I have about all of this. How is it that Chelsea are still being linked and allowed to buy players? At what point does anybody go, lads, the billion you spent, story? You know, because they're being linked with a striker again. They're being linked with defenders now. It seems madness to me. Like, that's... How are they able to just keep spending willy-nilly, like, as much as they want? Any news on Trent's contract? Sort of, but not... I have heard something, but not enough I feel comfortable bringing it to the table yet. But, what would I say? I don't think you've anything to be worried about. Put it that way. I think this will be dealt with as you expect. Craig, I'm saying Szoboszlai will replace Mo on the right wing. Elliott will cover for Szoboszlai in the right midfield. Mack on the left. Jones in the central defensive midfield. So I think you've got that almost right. But I'm only saying this because of the sample we've had. So if I was to guess, I think Elliott is going to go to the right wing for the time Salah's away. Only because that's what we've seen happen when Salah's been rested. That's where Elliott has naturally gone. He hasn't come in to the right side of midfield to see Szoboszlai pushed out to the right wing. It's been Elliott. So my guess would be that's what we'll see. And I'm absolutely fine with that, by the way, because I think Elliott's really knocking on the door for regular start anyway. Can Frimpong even play in a back four heat map wise? He's a wing back. He's a wing back at Leverkusen. You're right. He plays as an auxiliary right winger, basically. And I don't know if he can play in a back four or not. But I'm also not sure what way Jurgen's thinking in the long term for our lineup. So if we brought in enough centre backs and he wants to move Trent into midfield, is there an argument for us to move to a three at the back anyway? I don't know. You know, maybe it's just fanciful thinking from us fans trying to get as many good players into the team as we can. Giovanni, thank you, mate, for joining Anfield Agenda FC. Giovanni Cervantes, thank you, mate. Appreciate you. Capalot Luca, thank you for your super chat. Said Frimpong right back and Trent as the official midfielder. Well, Jurgen's getting to that point, isn't he? You know, Trent, he's getting Trent into that midfield position sooner or later. It does feel like maybe he sees out this season in this hybrid role, but I think we're getting a big enough sample size now of what Trent can do in that area of the pitch that if you can get a good fullback in, I don't see a problem with giving Trent an option. But you still have to look at it numerically, right? You've still got McAllister, Endo, Trent, Szoboszlai, Elliott, Jones, Gravenberch. So it's still a numbers game. And if you could move it into a system where maybe Andy Robertson plays the left side of a back three, or maybe Robbo plays in a wing back position, I feel like it might give Jurgen more options to keep more players on the pitch in the midfield area, because we're well stocked there when people aren't injured. And then, of course, we haven't even talked about Bajcetic coming back. Who takes pens in January? Good question, Harvey. Good question. Or, excuse me, Harry, my apologies. Who takes penalties in January? So, for me, I'm putting Jota or Szoboszlai on a penalty. If Trent wants it, I'd have no issues with that either. But I'm thinking Szoboszlai or Jota for the penalties would be my guess. But maybe Trent steps in and takes them. I don't know. Good question, though. It's not one I've given any thought to. How long can Robbo play for? As in years, James? I think Andy Robertson has 3-4 good years in him. Also, there's a really interesting post from James Pearce which made me think about a video I'd like to make. Remind me to go on to talk about that in a second. Right, so looking at your comments on the penalty situation. Sandra Mickelson said Szoboszlai Shirley. Darwin or Dom, said Wayne. Dom for Keevan. Dom for Boyan. Darwin for Big Country. McAllister. Do you know what? I forgot about Alexis. Sure, he was taking penalties as well at Brighton, wasn't he? So yes, Alexis McAllister. That's a very astute shout, mate. Well played. Who was that one? MCW. Good shout, mate. Well in. Real Phil said, or Rail Phil, I don't know which one it is. I'm gathering it's Real Phil. Frimpong right back. Trent central may allow Salah to be more of a wide forward again. Trent hybrid often means Salah isolated out wide a lot. I tell you what, you lads are on the money today. Well in. Yes, I looked at a heat map before, and in trying to figure out why maybe we're not seeing Mo get into those goal scoring positions as often as we'd like him to be there, I have looked at that, and yes, he is getting touches in a wider area, and the distance he has to the goal is increased. So if we find a solution to that as well, mate, with moving Trent in like you've said, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So good show, Phil, and thank you for your super chat, dude. Right, real quickly on that James Pearce thing. So James Pearce put out a post that said top 5 signings of the Klopp era, and he's given his. What James went for was number 1, Mohamed Salah. I don't think anybody with a right mind can disagree with that. Number 2, VVD. Number 3, Alisson Becker. Number 4, Sadio Mane. And number 5, Andy Robertson. So it made me think, and I'm not going to give mine now because I'm going to make a video on it, but I think it's a very good topic for James Pearce to bring up. And look, it's a good list that Jimmy Pearce has put up there as well. So yeah, it's just something to think about. But maybe you guys let me know some of your lists that you think for top 5 signings of the Jurgen Klopp era. I don't know if it's true, but I heard rumours that Mbappe is going to Arsenal. Their name has been mentioned. I mean, I don't really keep up with Arsenal transfer news, so no idea if that's the case. But I still think, Jack, I'm still expecting Real Madrid, to be honest with you, mate. But let's wait and see how this one pans out. I mean, technically on the 1st of January, he can sign a pre-contract agreement with any club outside of France. So, and he wouldn't even have to tell PSG. Ali for free kicks. I don't think we can quite go that. I think he's not sure of Ella, mate. I think we can go balls out like that. Bobby is one. Well, no, he isn't, because he wasn't signed in the Klopp era, so it doesn't count. Bobby was brought in before Jurgen arrived. I mean, you can make an argument that Bobby was brought in knowing Klopp was coming in perhaps, but he wasn't signed under Klopp. Thoughts on the Thiago situation? I just feel like it's a natural conclusion to his Liverpool career to just let his contract run down, leave in the summer. If he can play some minutes and help out between now and the end of the season, no issues with that. I'd personally prefer to look to life after Thiago, but if Jurgen feels he can utilise Thiago in games between now and the end of the season, so be it. No issues with that at all. And I stand over the deal was a good deal for Liverpool to do when we brought him in. I think it was value. I think you were taking a calculated risk with his availability, but that was worked into the price tag as well. So, look, I'm happy and always delighted to say that Thiago Alcantara played for Liverpool Football Club. It's a beautiful thing to say because he's an amazing footballer. But I think we need more versatility and more reliability in our availability of players, and unfortunately I don't think we can guarantee that with Thiago. So it feels like a natural conclusion. How do Arsenal afford to spend so much on Rice and Timber and still have more money? So I do think Arsenal have to wiggle around a few things, but the honest answer is, again, I don't know the state of Arsenal's finances. So I feel like I'd be guessing to give you a fair answer there. But I don't know, maybe you guys know more on that than me. I really don't know what wiggle room or what their finances look like at the Emirates. Are you confident we'll sign a player in January, said Finn. Yes, I am, Finn. I am. I wouldn't be... If you were to say to me, Craig, are you confident we sign more than one player in January? I'd probably say no, I'm not. But what I hope, Finn, is that we're not looking for a reactive signing or for a cheap deal to come out. I hope that realistically we've got something on the back burner ready to go immediately. Because as I said, if we want Inacio, or if we're looking at Inacio, we can't give Arsenal time to move players about or free up cash or whatever. We need to get in before. Because Arsenal's number one priority, I believe, should be a centre forward. Barella. Well, weirdly, there was an article on Barella yesterday that I brought up to say that Inter are hoping to tie him down to a new deal till 2028 to fend off the interest of Liverpool. Now, look, for me, this screams one of those situations, like I said to you before, that it's Inter bigging themselves up, getting their lad to sign a new deal and saying that they were able to, he was so loyal to Inter. He loved the club so much that he pushed away the interest and all the lure of riches from the Premier League to stay with Inter. That's how I see that situation, if I'm being entirely honest with you. Net spend of 167 million euros. They surely have to sell soon. Again, a net spend thing, though, I think you need to look at over a 3-year period. But the interesting part for me, I think, here is that they weren't in Champions League for some years. So I don't know. This is their first year back in the Champions League in a while. So I don't know what way Arsenal's finances are, if they're under any pressure. I might reach out to one or two of the Arsenal supporting friends I have and ask them for info on that. Gakpo, what's that? Gakpo on the left wing going to take us to the next level? I really feel like I'd prefer Darwin on the left wing. If you ask me for my best front three right now for the Newcastle game, it's Darwin left, Jota centre, Salah right. That's what I go with for the Newcastle game. Trent's contract ends in 2025. Are you worried? No. That will be renewed. I'm not going to tell you that I know it's done already, but I can tell you from what I've been able to garner and some of the stuff that's in the public domain as well, I don't think we've had to worry about there. Trent's settled. Trent's taken a leadership role. He's the vice captain. He'll be given a new deal. Barella to Newcastle. No, that won't happen either. Like I said to you all along, it's most likely going to be Calvin Phillips to Newcastle. I always said to you it would be there or Juventus. And I think Newcastle are trying to get to an agreement with Manchester City at the moment to bring in Phillips. I think they'll get it done. Yeah. So I don't think... Newcastle haven't got the wiggle room to go out there and spend that much money. So a loan deal with an option to buy makes more sense for them. I know a lot of people are asking about Bajcetic, but honestly, guys, I don't know a damn thing about what's going on with Stefan at the minute. Which makes me concerned. Because usually when we don't know anything, what I hope is happening is there's just a growing issue, or, you know, this is just a temporary problem that once he gets through this growth spurt or whatever it might be, that he's free and clear moving forward. I remember and somebody pointed this out to me, we had to manage Steven Gerrard around a similar age with similar issues. Would you like to see Thiago, Endo, Trent midfield before he leaves? No. Honestly, I've said, this is going to sound so harsh, but I don't mean it to be. I don't want Thiago in the midfield very often between now and the end of the season. I want us to look ahead. I want us to look to the future. I want us to give opportunities and minutes to the players that are going to be part of this Liverpool midfield for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And we're stacked. When everyone's fit, Endo, Bajcetic, Thiago, Trent, if you want to call him that, Jones, Elliott, Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. I mean, for 3 positions, I don't know where Thiago fits in there. Did you see the video of Klopp with the young Irish lad? Doira, yeah, it was, as I said the other day, man, I think we all shed a tear watching that. It was a very heartwarming video. And the young man, such a passionate young fan. And look, I think we can all resonate with how the young man feels when he's watching the Reds. So it was just a lovely, heartwarming Christmas video that certainly hit the fields. Disagree with your Thiago statement. That's okay. Nope, Brian, my man. I have no problem with someone disagreeing with me on Thiago, dude, because I'm not sitting here to tell you Thiago is an absolutely top-notch footballer. But think of it this way, Ryan. He hasn't played now since, I think it's May, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe April, but May. Let's go with May. So he hasn't played since May. We're now the end of January, and he hasn't kicked a ball, nor had a pre-season. What do we expect is realistic in a best-case scenario for him to come back, get up to speed, get to match fitness? How long do we think that's going to take? It's probably going to be February. And what, between February and the end of the season, how big of an impact realistically is he going to be able to make? And that's assuming he doesn't pick up another secondary injury or a knock. So that's kind of where my head's at with Thiago. It's not a lack of believing in the talent, because, my God, the talent's amazing. It's just being realistic about where he's at, what he has to do to catch up, and where we are as a team right now. Craig's no longer a Thiago sexual. You see, that's just silly. I'm being a realist. Thiago's an outstanding football player. Nobody's ever going to challenge the man's ability. But we're assuming a best case scenario where he's available and he's brilliant straight away and he's no rustiness and his body's going to be absolutely ready to go play 90 minutes. And I don't see that being the case. I think he'll come back, play some minutes, and I feel almost certain we'll see another injury before the season's out. I think we might sell him if we get a good offer for the Saudi League. Nah, I don't think we will, because Jurgen seems to want Thiago around. And also, even if Thiago can't play, between now and the end of the season, just having him around the training pitch with Bajcetic and McAllister and others, there's definitely a benefit to that. So even if Thiago's just kept and gets a few minutes, but just having him around the club and the training pitch and as an ear for young players to go and talk to about movements, about taking up certain positions, I mean, there's definitely a benefit in that. So I certainly wouldn't be able to or want to push Thiago out the door in January, not at all. The analogy I would use would, what would you do if you got a brand new BMW, but you constantly have to bring it into the mechanics to have days of work done and stuff? Is it really a great car? I had a few of those cars over the years, dude. And one of them was a Saab 9-3 that I loved to bits. And it's still to this day the most fun car I've ever had. It was a turbo diesel. It was a beast. But the amount of time I spent bringing that to a garage, and I think I ended up putting about 3.5 grand into a car that cost me 5.5 or 6. And eventually it got to the point where I said to my wife, look, we can't afford if anything else happens here. I think we have to cut our losses, sell the car, get something else. So we did it, and we knew who we sold it to because it was the mechanic that was working on it, and the car never had a feckin' issue after that. So that was a weird situation in my own life, but I don't think Thiago's going to have that same situation. How do you feel about Darwin? So I think, other than that United game where I really vented about Darwin, because I built up in my own head that Darwin was going to have a worldy game in that game. So other than that, I think I've always been pretty understanding and fair with Darwin. But he has a 10% conversion rate. He's had 50 shots this season. He scored 5 in the league. A 10% conversion rate isn't great. So there's other stuff he does that helps and that's good and that's useful, and he can certainly attack space and he can cause issues down the channels, and he's strong, and there's lots of positives. But he needs to work on the conversion rate, because I think with Salah you're up at about, I think it's about 24% if my memory's right, something like that. And yeah, it's pretty, it's not great if you're having that many shots and only having a 10% conversion rate. So there's certainly obvious areas that if we can improve that, a lot of other stuff will fall into place. So, and on Darwin, actually, while we're talking about Darwin, Liverpool will now have to pay an additional 4.3 million in add-ons to Benfica because Darwin made his 35th start for the club, meaning the total fee now being paid up to this point will be £72.6 million. So that's where we're at so far with the cost for Darwin to Liverpool. So, and as I always said, look, if we're paying these clauses, if we're triggering these things, it's because the dude's playing and getting game time. So, look, I'm still both optimistic and nervous about Darwin, I think is probably the fairest way I can say it. Salah's the only attacker who really doesn't have competition. Well, Jota has a better percentage, I think, in front, just slightly, if I'm not mistaken. I think Jota has a better percentage of shots to goals ratio. But Salah's right up there, right beside him. And Salah obviously has scored a lot more. He has 12 goals in the Prem this season, I think. And look, I'm all for trying to get Salah central as well. I think one of the problems we've had this season, which has been pointed out, was that he's too far away from goal when he receives the ball. And if we can put him in front of goal, there's nobody, him and Jota are the two I would put my life on in one-on-one situations with keepers. Like, they're the two people at our club that I think are the best finishers. I love Darwin, but he is frustrating. I think that's how a lot of us feel, Fritz Frank. I think you've summed up very well how most of us think about Mr. Núñez. But I tell you one thing I'm certain of. He's got to play against Newcastle. Because whatever else we think, Newcastle are going to have the muscle memory of what Darwin Núñez did to them. Newcastle are going to have the fear of Darwin Núñez. So I think he has to play against Newcastle on New Year's Day. And as I said before, my front three would be Salah right, Jota central, and Darwin left for that game. And I'm messing around with the idea in my head of trying to force Szoboszlai and Elliott into the midfield. Somehow, one of them on the left, because I feel it very harsh to leave either out as well. But then again, you have a valid argument about Gakpo. Gakpo in one of those advanced midfield positions could do a job as well. But these are good headaches. Craig, please listen. To what? I other than the voices in my head, dude, there's nothing else I'm hearing, so I don't know what I have to listen about. And rather than just saying please listen, is there any chance you could actually put what you want me to listen to in the comment, and then we can have the conversation? Newcastle are absolutely knackered. Yes, they're exhausted, they're riddled with injuries, and the pressure's starting to mount on Eddie Howe. So yeah, I think, look, that game's there for us to win as well. And I think we should be able to deal with Newcastle at Anfield, I hope. They made it really, 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 really tough for us last year. Newcastle are absolutely going to park the bus against us. Well, we know what we need to do when the bus is parked, mate, and that's break through early. If we can't do that against Newcastle, they'll become galvanised like we've seen previously when we got the very late winner against them at Anfield. So, yeah, look, we know what's going to come our way, and it's up to us to find that breakthrough. Who's this? Mike said, I feel like Jota is the best finisher because he disappears in a match but makes a chance out of nothing. He's an assassin. He definitely is. Like, look at the goal he scored the other day against Burnley. That's a Jota goal. That's a striker's goal. Other than maybe Salah, I don't really see many of our other boys finishing that situation the way he did. Because let's be really honest about this. He cleared up Lucho's mess. Because Lucho was stumbling over the ball and Jota just took it, got to the byline, tricky angle, and went straight through Trafford's legs, and it was a great finish. Darwin or Bobby? Bobby. Forever Bobby. I love Bobby. You know, outside of Salah, Bobby's the metric for me at Liverpool. Like, Salah's the man, deservedly, but I mean, you're never going to hear me slander Bobby Firmino, mate. He's a god to me. Núñez winning the Golden Post this season. I certainly think there's not even a race for that. That's the boy owns it. Jota is Arsenal's new owner. Oh yeah, he's definitely pulled up the slack. That's why I was raging he wasn't available for the Arsenal game. Because, you know, him and Bobby love goals against Arsenal, as you've said. Mr. MH said, Craig, there's nobody more disappointing than Naby Keita. I'll never forgive him for the Manchester United game last season where he was supposedly fit and once again let us down. So my memory of that time is not only was he a disappointment in that regard, like you've said, but I remember the leaked stuff in the media saying that if he didn't get the start against United in that game, that he was considering his Liverpool future. And then he himself shit the bed and wasn't able to play. So I got really angry around that time because I think we were all had a level of frustration with Naby. And then when that week came and that stuff was in the media and then he still wasn't available. But look, he's gone over to Werder Bremen and it's been worse probably since he's gone there. Have I any interest in the darts? Yes, absolutely, Joe. Been watching every bit of it I can when I'm not streaming, obviously. Would you do a 4-4-2 with Núñez and Salah at the top, Elliott and Gakpo on the wings? So it's all very well and good, me and you in the chat saying, would we do this? But let's be honest, we've not really seen much of an indication from Jurgen that he'd go 4-4-2. So no, I don't see it being the case. More likely is a May a 4-2-3-1 with one of them up top, perhaps. And again, I'd have no issue if that was Salah because you want him closer to goal, especially as he gets a little bit older as well. I feel like if Salah's still around, just put him in front of the goal. Get him as close to him and the keeper as possible. If you were a tactic, what would you use apart from Klopp's iconic gegenpressing? If I was a manager, what would I do? Well, it depends on the group of players you have. With this Liverpool team, I'd probably do exactly what Jurgen is doing. If I was playing against this Liverpool team, I'd probably look to get quick balls over the top into the channels and counter quickly if I had pace in my team, like others have done. I think, for me this season, one of the best teams at exploiting that was Fulham. I thought Fulham and Anthony Robinson, ironically enough, considering we were talking about him yesterday, I thought they gave a great blueprint of how to attack our system and use our own pace of countering against us. But you need to have tremendous energy levels, and you've got to be ruthless, and you've got to be efficient. Craig, in the post-match interview after the Burnley game, Klopp said I think he meant to say content with the season so far. Not happy, your thoughts? Well, I think that's fair. Look at it this way, mate. We didn't really expect to be in a title race this season. We didn't expect a transitional season now. Klopp got one bad year, which was last year, and I think it was refreshing to see most people say, yeah, Klopp's deserved that. Klopp's deserved one bad year. That's understandable, but we need to go again and we need to be better. So I think the goal for me coming into this season was make sure you get into the top four, win the Europa League, and see what happens in the domestic cups. So for Klopp to say he's content doesn't mean he doesn't want to win, but I think it's a fair assessment. I'm content with where we are. There are certain things I wish had have happened differently and I would have done differently, but that's Monday morning quarterback stuff. So yeah, I think content's fair. But we need to realise also that we are now in a title race, whether we planned for it or not, and do everything we can to make the best out of the situation that we have. Klopp's a genius. He found a way to make our players motivated again. Look, the Trent thing for me was the genius stroke. Bringing him in and understanding that with Canade or Gomez on the right side of our defence, you have some people who can cover for Trent, and then seeing that we can have Trent impact the game so positively from a central position with his range of passing. I think that's the masterstroke for me that's made everything else possible. And of course, that has to be counterbalanced on the other side by having Andy Robertson in a good defensive and offensive situation, which I just think it works, and I've liked it, and I think for that, Klopp deserves a big pat on the back. I'm not saying he invented the role. I'm not saying no other managers have done it before. Of course they have, but he's the one who put the two and two together and gave Trent that opportunity to impact games more positively. And also, I agree with Tapello there as well. Our identity is 4-3-3. I agree with you on that. We might vary how we use that 4-4-3 in and out of possession, but ultimately, I think you're right, mate. It's in our DNA, a 4-3-3 of some variety. Do you think we'll sign Inacio in January? Said Burnin Bean. I don't know the definitive answer, so I'm giving you an opinion. I'd be probably 50-50. I think we get a centre-back in January, but I don't know, at the information I have to hand yet, if I'm arrogant enough about it to say we sign Inacio. I don't feel I'm there, but I do feel like we will sign somebody in that position. Don't jinx it. I was only thinking about that yesterday, right? The whole jinxing thing. Isn't that just the weirdest thing ever? If something goes wrong and I've been positive, I'm a jinx. So if I've said really confident going a game against Newcastle, I think we beat Newcastle, we have their number, and we go and lose, suddenly it's my fault, like I've had any impact on anything other than trying to put a positive look on it. But if we win, I don't remember people running in and going, that's all because of you, Craigo. That's because of you, bud. We only won that game because of your positivity. It's a weird situation to be in as a content creator, because people just want the scapegoat when things don't go right, and whoever they find, whoever pops into their head first, you're the scapegoat. So it's weird, eh? I don't remember getting all the plaudits when we won the league and the Champions League. I mean, I must look in my spam folder. And also, I wish I had that impact. Do you know? I wish I could have an impact on Liverpool by just wishing things to fruition, or I wish that was the case. Just seeing that Firmino might be leaving Al Ali, excuse me. I love Tucker. I seen that as well. But my guess, and it is just a guess, because I don't know anything about it. If he comes and does leave Al Ali, I think he goes to Brazil and goes back and finishes his career in Brazil. That would be my guess. Craig, jinxing doesn't matter. Life moves on. God's will. I'll push back on you on the last part of that, because obviously I'm not a believer in God, but weirdly, I'm not a believer in God, but I am a believer in energy, if that makes sense. Love your content. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support. Right, my friends, I'm going to go and get some more videos recorded, because I've got a few bits and pieces to do. Can Trent have a legacy like Gerrard or better? Oh, that's a great question to finish on, Harry. Can Trent have a legacy like Gerrard or better? I think his legacy can be better. I'm not saying he'll be a better player. I'm not saying we'll ever look at Trent in the same way we've looked at Gerrard, as a man who can just drag a team over the line. But if we're going to look at it from a legacy perspective of staying at the club for a similar length of time, trophies won, matches impacted in a positive way, you immediately think of the Barcelona there straight away. I think Trent can have as big a legacy as Steven Gerrard, yes. I think he'll certainly end up with, probably already has, but we'll have more silverware to look back on. So yeah, great question to finish up on, and thank you guys so much. So look, I'll see you tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel, and yeah, much love to you all. Enjoy the game tonight, enjoy the darts if you're watching it. Keep an eye out for a news video coming out at about 8:30, and yeah, don't forget to drop a like if you haven't done so. Please hit the subscribe button, and thank you for everything again. You guys are awesome, appreciate you.